Hello, my beautiful friends. It is Sunday, Palm Sunday, for those of you who are Christian. Um, so this begins Holy Week, so lots of reflection this week. For those who, practice or, adhere to some sort of Christian practice. Yesterday's retreat was really great. And then I ended the day with a hangout with the Spirit Sisters, which was awesome. We had quite a good time. But I learned some valuable lessons in my retreat. So I set everything up like I said I was going to. And I know this sounds ridiculous. Stay with me. So I'm sitting here and I have a ladle next to me at the desk. So judge me if you want, but back scratchers don't work for me. But this ladle, which is my ladle, we don't use it for cooking. It's my back scratcher because I can reach the middle of my back. And I don't have anybody here to scratch my back. I'm not going to have my kids scratch my back. That's weird. So I use my ladle. So my ladle sits right next to me. And I'm like doing my thing and I'm reading and I'm reflecting and I'm, meditating. And I look inside the bowl of the ladle and I see the reflection of the sun. I see the flames behind me from the different candles that are burning. And I see like a mountain. And I hear in my head, there's going to be a great fire on the mountain. Turn around. So I turn around and I had made a ritual candle with herbs and oils that came in the Druid box. And I had placed it in a flower pot back here and it had fallen and it had lit the little bookcase that I have back here that holds, different candles and incense and stuff in it. That was on fire. Now I could blow it out and then tap it with my hand because it was oil. I didn't want to put water on it. So I tapped it out and I thought how funny that the Red Cross lady who teaches people how not to start fires has started a fire on her altar. But it was a good lesson for a number of reasons. One, I would not normally have trusted a vision that I saw in my ladle. But I trusted the voice in my head that said turn around. And thankfully I did, and no real harm was done. It was kind of comical because the candle that I was using, and I've never dressed a candle before. It's very much a witch thing, and I'm not a witch, so I've never done it before. But you take a beeswax candle, and then you put oil and herbs, and you can put a little note in here, which is what I did. And it was obviously a different one. And so I thought it would be like a normal candle that it would burn down, but because I had put too much oil in it, the whole thing was like just a tower, like a bonfire of a candle. Because I didn't know that you weren't supposed to put a lot of oil in it. I thought you were supposed to I don't know if I was making a pizza with sauce or what I was doing, but it was, so I thought, well, I have a lot of mason jars around, so I'll find a mason jar. Well, of course, there's mason jars everywhere in this house except when you're looking for one. So I couldn't find one. So I found an old glass that held no special meaning to anybody, and I threw it in there. I took a picture and I sent it to the sisters, and I'm like, what the hell did I do? And of course, it was pretty comical after the seriousness was over, but it was just proof of a lot of things. So this is the lesson of the ladle and the candle. So number one, do your homework. I thought this was a great idea. It is a great idea. I felt a lot of intentionality when I was creating the candle and writing the note that I put into it and putting the oil and the herbs, and that was all really good. But I used too much, and I didn't pay attention to the recipe because I never looked up a recipe. I'm like, well, that's how the girls do it, so let me do that. I should have done my research. So, lesson learned. The other lesson that I learned was a lesson that a year ago, I would not have looked in this ladle, heard something in my head, and immediately turned around. I would have been like, whatever. If you ask Spirit to show you signs, then always look for signs in the most mundane places. There are signs all around us, and people are going to think you're stupid. People are going to think that you're foolish and that, oh my God, eye roll, there's a sign. But had I not turned around, my kitchen would have been on fire. Because I do have fire extinguishers all over my house. Do volunteer for the Red Cross. And fire alarms, but the extinguisher is all the way over there. And it was an oil fire. So Like, I would have had to, like, it would have caught me on fire before I would have ever realized it, right? If I had not heard that in my head. So pay attention to those small signs. And no sign is too ridiculous. No matter how spirit gets it to you, pay attention to it. And then my reflection later on was just, really about being humble, in the face of the things that you don't know, right? Like this, this is a new thing that I'm learning, and I need to learn it, and I need to, because I did find meaning in it, but I just can't be all willy-nilly about, using these kinds of tools that I'm not familiar with. So that was what I got out of that part of it. And then, of course, the retreat theme was stillness. And it was in stillness that I was able to see the sign, able to listen, and, I was able to react and not get upset about it. There would have been a time in my life where I would have been so disappointed in myself because I'm such a perfectionist. I would have been so upset with myself for getting it wrong, for doing it wrong. I would have never admitted it to the sisters. But I've come to a place, and I can see that growth where I was like, that's funny. Like, let me share it with them and find out what I'm really supposed to do. And when I told them how much oil and herbs and the full size letter that I put in, they're like, it's a drop of oil. It's a tiny piece of paper. It's, I was like, oh, I didn't know that. So we're always learning. Nobody's perfect. YouTube makes things look like everything's so easy and, everybody's so perfect at all this stuff. Don't listen to that. That's horseshit. Nobody's perfect at anything, right? And so, and do a lot of research. Don't just trust one person because you like them. Don't trust just me for something that you like to do. I've been working through this book, The Druid Path, which I really, really like. This is by John Michael Greer, who is I think he's the Arch Druid Emeritus of the American Druid Organization. I don't belong to a Druid organization. I like that he recognizes that, and this book is for solo practitioners. It just feels too much like church. If I were going to go to church, I would just go to church. And speaking of church, I do actually go to church during Holy Week. I will go to Maundy, Thursday. In fact, I think that is probably one of the most meaningful church services of the year. My church that I kind of came up in my early adult life, they did this beautiful thing where they would have a service, the Stations of the Cross, and then after that, they would keep the church open all night long because Jesus says, like, Jesus knew he was going to die, and he's like, hey, won't you hang out with me? And of course, everybody was like drunk because it was, they had the Last Supper, and they couldn't stay awake. Nobody could stay awake with him. And so, it's that idea of, can't you stay with me 1 hour? So throughout the night, you would sign up for an hour-long shift. And, I was young, so I would always sign up for like the 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning shift because I was young and I was up. And it was the most meaningful hour, I think, of the Christian year, because it was just me alone. You had to have 2 people in the chapel. So it was me and then whoever was with me. But you're not talking to each other. You're doing silent prayers from the St. Augustine prayer book. And you do sort of a self-examination. And I have that, and I'll do that here by myself on Monday, Thursday. Probably not at 2 in the morning because I'm not young anymore. But I like to go through that examination. I don't agree with everything in the examination anymore. Like, there's a whole chapter about this stuff, right? So clearly I don't agree with that. But it's a time and a conversation with God about, the shortcomings that I think we all have. I can be very lazy, and I can be a procrastinator, and I can be stubborn, and I can be selfish, So it's really talking through the things, and making a plan for being better, right? So I will observe Holy Friday, Good Friday, and the idea that, if you are Christian, Easter has always been my favorite holiday. I do like Christmas. I love it for my children. I love it for other people's children. I think people are nicer at Christmas time. I think we've lost that beauty in the Eastertide season. But if you're Christian, Easter is the defining holiday for Christians, right? Because we believe that Jesus was killed on that cross and then he rose 3 days later. So, without Easter, Jesus is just a really good guy, which maybe you believe that, and that's what you believe. But if you believe he's a savior, if you believe that, he died for mankind and for the transgressions of mankind, then Easter is that holiday that sort of defines that. So it's always been my favorite holiday. So I will go, I probably will go to a service at St. John's or the parking lot. So we have 2 Lutheran churches here in Palmerton. They're both called St. John's. I started going to the one that I like. I went to both of them, but when I went to the first one, like the minister, right after the service, and I didn't want to talk to the minister. Like I get out. I don't want to chit chat with people. I don't want to be signed up for committees. I've been there, done that. Don't want to do that anymore. So this didn't bother me on a personal level. But when he was done with service, he went out inside and started talking on a cell phone, and all his flock was coming out. And I'm thinking, sure, your flock is coming. Get off that phone. Tell that person you'll call them right back. That church just ended, and give me 10 minutes and I'll call you back. Like, I don't care, like, who it is. Like, attend to your flag there, buddy. So, no judgment, but, like, so then I went to the other one, and the other one is up a little farther. They said the other one's real close to me. I could walk to it. The other one's further. You have to drive. But they met they had speakers out to the parking lot during the pandemic. And I thought that was super legit. And they were actually, like their pastor had retired, and they were between pastors. And they did never behave like they were between pastors. They also are the housing for the soup kitchen and the food pantry. And they used to do cardboard recycling, and they do a ton in the community, and you see their name on everything. Like, they're doing the work of Christ. And that is, to me, the expression of Christianity. The expression of Christianity isn't sitting around going, well, that person shouldn't be allowed, and then that person shouldn't be allowed to do this, and this person should. That's not Christianity. That's not what Christ taught. Christ was like, hey, see those lepers over there? Go help them out. See those starving people over there? Go help them out. You see those widows? See those orphans? Go help them out. Get off your butts and go help them. Don't sit around and criticize them. Help them. And I feel like that church actually does that mission pretty well. So I'm not looking to join a church, but when I go to a church, that's the one I go to, and I probably will go there on Good Friday, and I probably will go there Easter Sunday as well. So those are my plans for Holy Week. And, it's funny because I know that people at the church are trying to get me in. And I'm like, no, like, you don't. Because, like, I don't think you should go to a church and try to change a church. Like, they have their beliefs, and they believe suffer not a witch. That's not what the original translation says. Suffer not a poisoner. But you're going to believe what you're going to believe, and you're going to think I'm a witch. And I'm not a witch. I don't identify that way. But I also don't think that, that what you think is a witch, right? And I don't think that what I do is in opposition to the teachings of Christ. And we're just not going to agree on it. And I don't want you sitting there and being like, well, you're a sinner, you need to repent before you can do this and that and every other thing. Been there, done that, was going to be a nun. I know the drill. I know it. And I don't want a part of it. I want to worship Jesus Christ my own way. And on my own path, and philosophically, druidically, I find Jesus and God and the Trinity in nature. That's where I find it. Church is a reminder of that relationship, that special relationship that Christ had with the people. And I think it's important, and I think it brings a lot of meaning to a lot of people. I like to be reminded every once in a while, Christmas and Easter, about that partnership, but it doesn't resonate for me on a weekly basis anymore. It used to, but it does not now. Will that change? It could, but right now I'm happy being the Christian I am. I've never changed as the inside. I've never not believed in Jesus Christ. I've never not believed in his death and resurrection. I have always believed that. I have always believed that he was sent to guide us as a master teacher, and people killed him for it. I don't need to be in a church, St. John's 1 or St. John's 2, to believe that. So, Holy Week is coming up. I'm going to be doing some studying each day as we get to Monday, Thursday, and then to Good Friday, and then to Easter Sunday. So, I am wishing you all the very best in light and love. Go get yourself a ladle. Don't overdress your candles. And I'm wishing you all the best in light and love. Be well. Bye-bye.